idea, buying real estate property, for example, people say, location, 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 right? My mom instilled in me since I was a little boy, education, education, education. So I mean, that was a huge factor for me to pay attention to my studies. The other thing too is, I'm also, gay. So I mean, I had absolutely no connection to my heterosexual peers in my neighborhood at all. So, I kind of locked myself into my own world, focused on my studies. But again, I still had those other environmental issues that could have affected me. And I think, what would have happened if I wasn't gay? What if I was straight? How would I have turned out? Yeah.
That could have protected you
to identify.
Yeah. So in many ways, being gay was a good thing for me.
In that environment, yes.
Yeah. In that environment, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the prevailing strong ideas in education theory today also is that teacher expectation is one of the strongest determinants of how children will learn. So they do experiments where they take kids and tell them that, they tell the teacher, your kids, these are all gifted, you're teaching the gifted class, and these kids have not tested gifted, and the kids come out of that class being really critical thinkers, they grasp stuff because the teacher expects and promotes it. So, they're...
It's really some little thing can do wonders. I read a lot of stories about that. There's one short story say the principal selected 50 students randomly and tell them, okay, you are really promising students for your studies. And at the end of semester, those 50 students did much better than their peers. So really just the expectation and confidence of, can change a lot of things. So something you don't know exactly what determines this, but as long as you finish it, you accomplish it, and that's what really matters, what's really important. So, whether it's genetically determined, whether it's culturally impacted, we want to understand how that works in order to better educate our kids. We want to make sure that works. Right now, I don't know why it doesn't work, at least right now. Secondary educations are probably among the worst among the developed countries. So, why do you think so? You guys are teachers, you know better than I do. So, what do you think the problems are with our secondary education?
Too much technology in our hands. Game Boys, what do you call them?
I think I teach second grade, so at elementary there's so much creative, project-oriented learning going on with little kids, because you think, oh, they do art, oh, blah, blah, blah. And then when the kids, as they get older, like when my daughter went to middle school, there was a significant difference in the kind of work she was expected to do relative to what she did in elementary school. And I thought to myself, why?
Yeah.
Because when you have to create something yourself and express what you learn, that promotes higher level thinking. We know that through theoretical studies and practical studies. But yet, as kids go up in education, they prune the expectations of them to be less project, high-level thinking oriented. In some classes, in the general ed classes, there are some AP teachers, there are some teachers at the higher teaching kids that have tested to be gifted or whatever. Those kinds of kids sometimes get those project-oriented based projects. Things to do. But it's not very often. That's what I've seen just with people that I know whose kids have grown up, and I'm a teacher and I see it myself, and I talk to them, and I think, wow, if they just went back and gave those secondary kids an opportunity to create and express.
So really, essentially, it's the teachers.
Well, I think it's the system, unfortunately.
Yeah,
it really is.
The evaluation of the system that is standards that don't actually result in education. It just results in teaching to a test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those numbers are so important. Everything is...
Yeah, but on the other hand, if you don't have a standard test, how do you evaluate the students?
I think standard testing is important, but I don't think it has to be done ad nauseum. These kids are tested and tested and tested and tested and tested and tested. It's just kind of ridiculous. I don't think it has to be done.
That's all about funding.
Yeah.
It's about funding. Even for the parents, if you look for a school, hey, look at test score, right?
Exactly. And
it's a vicious circle in some sense.
Your question wasn't about the system, though. You said it was about. I thought your question was why are the kids not producing better results?
Right.
I think the assumption there was that what's up with the kids, themselves. So that's what I was trying to say when I was joking about the technology. I think that I agree with Lynn. I have a 10-year-old in the public school system right now, and it is all about testing. It seems, but I can tell you that I can barely do his homework with him. It's become so complicated, and that he had math in kindergarten. He had homework in kindergarten. We didn't have homework in kindergarten. We had milk money, and we took naps. But my son is one of a lot of kids who I think sometimes I feel like they want to just get it over with. Whatever it is they need to do now, they want to get it over with and get to the next fun thing, whether that's a piece of technology or watching TV or whatever it is. And the attention span of kids seems to be very narrow. The focus is very short, it's very narrow, their attention span is very short. And I don't know if that's a result of the fact that everything is so fast-paced now because of this testing and it's all compartmentalized. Here's your math score, here's your this, here's your that. Or if it is because technology's made it so easy for them to, check out. And so they're waiting until they get that moment to just check out of whatever it is that their responsibility is. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know if that was clear, but
I
talk a lot about this with other parents.
Yeah, there's a common trend to blame, whatever the new thing, the new technology. Remember in the cities, we blame television.
Yeah.
But it turned out to be fine. It's really, we really want to find what happened, but the fact is that today, when the high school student enters university, they were not prepared for college education. That's a fact. Even at CISA, we only admit the top 1/3% of students. Most of them couldn't write, couldn't read, couldn't think. So what happened? We really want to understand what is going on.
There's no time for teachers to really teach critical writing skills. They aren't tested on their ability to actually really critically write and think and write clearly. I have a niece who's graduating from college next week. She can't even put a resume together.
Yeah.
She doesn't even know how.
And that can be explained, differently. They just didn't know the specifics.
No. I mean, she can't. It's bad.
Things about education is interesting. Seeing my own children go through school, they're both in college now. Is that the teachers, and I've talked to the teachers about this. I'm like, why don't you do more in-depth analysis? Why don't you do a lot of comparative literature? There's this whole body of knowledge and art and biology and all kinds of stuff that they're not exploring deeply. And the teachers say because there is so much technology, they don't need to teach them the information, just how to find it. I'm like, oh my God, it's so antithetical to me to be a knowledgeable, thinking, educated, analytical person.
Yeah.
And like when I was little, I made my kids play with the globe because they don't teach them geography. And I used to play with the globe and the atlases. No one can expect any school, no matter how, whether it's the seed school or like the seed school they have at UCLA or anything, to teach your children everything. It is to, it has to be a whole process of keeping your children curious despite all these distractions and all the quick flow.
Yeah, you really need a good balance between the content and the method.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter, each of us wrote a paper in 4th grade about a country. So maybe I learned about Japan and she learned about Argentina. And neither of us learned about the other one, but what mattered is we knew how to investigate a country, how to analyze what that country is like, what's the same, what's different. And it gave us the tools that if we became interested in another country to learn it. As opposed to, just on Wikipedia you can find any country and look it up later if you need it.
That doesn't make sense.
To me
one more question here is, regarding, in particular with the math abilities, it seems that U.S. students is really poor in mathematics. Why? Why do you think so?
Well, for them, they let them use calculators. Like when I was a chemistry major, we did get to use slide rules on the final exam only because we had to carry that,